All right, folks, welcome to game number 1 in the best of 5 here in the Renovate for the TopDogs. May have a small bug here for Denver, so we'll see if this turns into a remake or not. I do want to just clear the air on a couple things really quick, though. First and foremost, because it's been asked several times in chat, I just want to make it very clear. I don't have any problems with FireCake personally, like at all. He's banned from BaseTradeTV events, but not from us casting him. And this is a no gaming event. And if this was like a WCS qualifier or a DreamHack qualifier, we'd still cast him, and there is no bias coming into this. The issue with FireCake revolves strictly around one match in our Ting Open that resulted in him no longer playing in events for our related things. No hate towards FireCake. No hate towards casting him. I just want to make that very clear before we get into it, because it has been brought up in chat, and I feel clearing the air probably makes it a little bit easier for people to know going forward. Also, Riamar says to slap him if he donates anymore, so nobody donate to Blue, please, because I don't want to have to slap Riamar. But alright, looks like all things are resolved. We're going to carry on with the game. So in the top right side of Dusk Towers, taking his natural in the safer location, it is going to be Euronics Gaming's FireCake.
In the bottom left, as the red Zerg, it is Denver.
Now, there's actually a kind of cool point to what Denver's doing. Taking the third out here as your natural is not suicidal or crazy, and he didn't forget that there was a base in the back, but this can actually really screw with scouting. There's not a lot of 3-base fast hatchery builds. There are some players who'll play greedy, but for the most part, you don't typically take your third that soon. And when you scout this with a Ling, assuming for a moment that Denver has, like, I don't know, queens on the ramp or zone lings, and he prevents FireCake from actually getting in here, FireCake will have to scratch his head and be like, oh, is he doing what I'm doing with a fast third? Or did he just take 2 bases and now I have to worry about a, like, massive all-in coming my way?
Yeah, exactly. That's the biggest purpose for this, I've always felt. But it's also just, I feel like, stylistic as well. Whatever you want to do. It's your game, I suppose, the pro gamers. But FireCake does take that third hatch pretty quickly. Of course, Dusk Towers, fairly popular for roaches into Spire. We occasionally see just directly into that Spire, especially if they did take the natural base, and they can put the spine crawlers up at the front, but it's obviously the more dangerous way to play.
There's been, actually, it's not even something where I think it's a coin flip anymore. Like, we are just seeing straight up more Spire play, period. Like, whether it is roaches into it or vice versa. Now, FireCake throws down the Roach Warren, and I really don't know if this is necessarily for... Okay, well, hold on. We had cancel on that speed. I thought this was going to be something different out of Denver. But anyways, the Roach Warren could just be for the roaches into the Spire. It could be just straight up roaches. I mean, let's not forget that is still a core part of the matchup. But no, he goes for it again. So he canceled this and then starts it again. And I thought for a moment we were going to start seeing some of those Baneling drops and those Ling elevator moves that we've seen players like Penguin and some others do. But then starts it again? Like, he's definitely doing drops of some variety, but what exactly are Denver's plans here?
I guess just attack at multiple locations. I mean, with this Overlord speed, you can get into the back of the base, you can get into the main, obviously, and you just attack straight up through the front. Now, what would be a cool thing to do would be to maybe just actually circumvent FireCake scouting with Overlords with your Overlord drops. Oh, okay. Which, that would have been cool, but probably unnecessary. His speedlings are just that quick anyway. But he almost dodged FireCake's Overlord, only to get back into it anyway, plus FireCake's Lings got in there as well. So FireCake knows the aggression's on its way, but still, like, has some time to actually, like, wait for his roaches. The queens actually try and defend for here, so one goes down immediately. He's just He's
actually going to drop over top of him. This is so cool to get that surround. This guarantees he gets into the base. Now,
well,
there are roaches, and they're in a great spot to fight, but there's no reason for Denver to actually go fight said roaches. As we see, he goes to the mineral line to some hold position micro, already liking what this underdog's brought to the table.
Yeah. Now, still, Denver is down 6 workers, even after killing 7 of FireCakes, plus he's down a hatchery, so this really is quite all in here, and it's not worked out quite yet. It's now at the 10 workers, and he's got more Lings on the way.
Oh, does FireCake... I hope he realizes there's just one Ling in here. He doesn't get, like, psyched out of this. He's going to pick up more. He's going to make some Banelings. He's going to go for some rain. This is cool, though, because, like, I referenced Penguin earlier, and Penguin is not the most well-known or renowned Zerg player there is. But in Ting Open and ZvZ only events, like, he was doing some really sick stuff and, like, killing people with these drop styles. So I really... For Denver to be doing this, I'm excited because I've seen another amateur player do this. And to see Denver doing it here at the TopDogs tournament is kind of cool, too. Now, FireCake is also really good at ZvZ. Losing a third certainly not going to help. Overlord heading towards the main. Does he think this is just more Lings? It's certainly not. It is some Banelings after all.
This is some really cool tactics from Denver. I mean, he's now killed 16 workers overall to even things up. Is he gonna trick them and like thinking like, oh, that's it for the?
Well, he's busy looking at the main, so the Lings do run into the natural base. So I'd say trick illusions, Dad, and they're kind of working.
Oh,
that's the joint stack up.
no.
Oh no, Denver! Oh, it was so.
Okay.
Does he like? FireCake might not actually know that there's 2 more Banelings in there. He may think it's just an empty Overlord. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he does. There's some serious accidental mind games going on here. But 2 Banelings find their way into the natural and catch all those drones stacked up. So forget the Overlords. Down to 12 workers. Denver is so far ahead of this match. And here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, it's all the drones. Denver!
Oh, I love this kid now. Like,
I am absolutely loving. He can lose this series, but he has won my heart with his opening moves in Game 1 on Dusk Towers. This is so sick. My voice is already like on squeaky and scratchy just from yelling from this one game alone.
What is the point of having a third base with 5 drones?
Cancel to build some more drones, I know. A lot of these roaches are really low, too. Kind of the funny thing is the Lings could get kills here if they'd like. But let's also not forget the Overlords are ready to go for another round. Now, there is a Queen to help drive this off. But, man, Denver just has to do any amount. He's building roaches. Okay, there we go. I was going to say, he has to do any just small amount of macro, and he wins this. He's already killed so much. But, of course, FireCake wouldn't be the one to tap out in this situation. He'd be the one to build a hatchery somewhere else on the map, right?
Oh, only if it's ladder.
Okay, you're right. He's actually, I want to give him some shit, but he's usually pretty good at tournament play stuff. But this to me is like, you're down to 8 workers. I don't see a recovery in this situation.
Yeah. His only hope, and I thought
GG.
he was going to counter, you know, in the last 2 minutes, was just catching him without roaches. But he never did that. And, okay. Number 1.
I'm going to go tell DTT StarCraft to highlight that.
I don't even. I wonder what you do to defend against that. I guess if it's just a Ling Baneling war, it might be easier, you know. But even then, you can get the Banelings over. It's gonna be interesting. The next map is Rock Shear. Oh, so we have Endion as the 3rd map again, but then we have Sky Shield as map number 4.
Yes, I noted that as well. That was kind of a cool one to see. But man, I messaged. Sorry, I went all caps. I was too excited. I was like, "Yo, you definitely want to make a highlight of Game 1, Denver versus FireCake." So he's like, "I'm on it, boss." That the thing was like the sneak attack of the Banelings on the right side was cool. The drop with the like it was like the patient game. The side like the waiting above the mineral lines with 2 Banelings in that Overlord was just
It's clever.
Ace Lude, Creekasm, whatever you want, whatever emote you need to represent it.
Clever cow.
All right, well, we're gonna get the second lobby up here in a moment. Just gotta wait for the invite as the tournament organizers set it up. Shout out to the folks at O Gaming. I just want to throw out there real quick. That's another one of the many reasons I like casting ZvZ now, opposed to what it used to be. Like it really truly can be quite fun.
Yeah, it can. It just, we haven't seen that type of fun actually ever. We've seen, of course, lane drops, but that was almost like quickly given up, honestly, for ZvZ. Like they were like, oh, it's not gonna do anything. We saw roach drops in the mid to late game, and that's still a thing, but you know that's much later. To get the Overlord drops to get us around on the ramp blocking queens, I just feel like now it looks so obvious.
Yeah.
But before, I've never seen anyone else do it.
I think a big part of that is because you don't. It's how to say, like, there's standard ways to play StarCraft, and a lot of pros get good at playing standard, but they don't necessarily innovate, and that's why we always get really excited when MMA was around, TLO, like the guys who play different and think outside the box and don't just play what everyone else is doing but better. There's not a lot of those types of players, so this was really cool to see. I like it. But okay, we'll see if Denver is a one-trick pony or if he can follow through with more. I do want to note that I don't think FireCake will be underestimating his opponent
Again?
Well, I don't even think that was again. Like, FireCake had good standard defense. The third hatchery is a little bit greedy. You could certainly say that for sure, certain. But the 3 queens on the ramp and the roaches, which were seconds away from backing up said queens on the ramp, you don't expect an Overlord drop. Who does that?
Denver?
The last
I really
so...
want to see what he does on this map. He's ready now. Oh, it's gonna be interesting. It's Rax Shear, so I don't even know if he's practiced on this map. That might be a big influencer.
This really has nothing to do with FireCake playing good or bad. Like, the hype for this comes seeing somebody we don't really know well, a literal underdog in the context of this tournament, doing something cool and different and beating a player who is renowned and known to be better. So there is just so much cool points given to Denver right now, guys. But here we are once again, game 2 in this best of 5 for the round of 8 of the O Gaming Top Dogs tournament. Spawning in the bottom right, he won several of the underdogs events to get here. It's going to be the Red Zerg Denver.
In the top left, as the blue Zerg, it's FireCake.
Of course, repping that Euronics Gaming. Now, just a quick note, guys, we've got one last best of 5 coming up after this, and it's going to be Marine Lord versus DNS. I'm actually really, really excited about that one. I love TVP, but I love watching Marine Lord. And while some bad stuff happened to him recently due to his own decision-making, and he can't play in a lot of stuff, I'm glad to see him play here. DNS is a pretty good up-and-comer as well. He's been around since the days of Zotac and Yonder, so this is a good matchup, and I don't want to like try and pretend like I don't care and go to the next one. I'm just super excited for the next one.
I'm still excited to see what happens in this game, this next one game. Like I said, it's Rax Shear, it's a new map, so maybe like that was something that he's well practiced on for Dusk Towers, because let's be honest, it's a very common build to go up against. Someone went for 3 hatchery, they depended on the queens to block the ramp, and then they advance themselves to the mid game with those roaches. Is that, the same exact thing to be expected on Rax Shear? No, because what do you expect on Rax Shear? Even if you watched all of GSL's games, maybe your opponent didn't, or vice versa, and you just aren't sure exactly what is done on this map. I mean, it's still most likely that you'll get a point where 2 queens blocking the ramp is very important. Yeah. But, as I said, like, I would like to see a Ling Baneling defense to that Ling Baneling drop attack and see how that worked out.
Well, I think part of that would be interesting. You watch somebody like Denver take it to the next level where you start baiting out Baneling hits just by dropping like one Baneling, one Zergling at a time type thing. But Evo Chamber comes down, but this time, I mean, I'm not convinced that this will be the same thing just yet. There was some awkwardness with the priority and overlord speed last game. Just remind everybody, you built it, canceled it, built it again. But this could also just simply be for upgrades, which is, again, another less common tactic, but +1 Carapace goes a long way in the game if you are planning to just scrap out like crazy, and boom, there you go. So I guess the long-forgotten dynamic, because this hasn't been played out in too much, is just a quick reminder. If you've got Carapace on your Lings, you can actually take like 1 Baneling hit and live with 1 health.
So the other dynamic is, of course, that if you go into roaches eventually, then that's not a useless upgrade, quote-unquote. But I'm looking, and I don't see Denver getting speed, which is interesting. Okay, apparently he starts speed. So he gets, this upgrade for Carapace is awfully early. I mean, even if FireCake gets a Ling in and sees he's going for an evolution chamber and he figures that it's a Carapace, although some people also do melee, the time at which it actually finishes might be a bit shocking.
I just want to update. Sorry guys, I had forgotten to put the +1 on the overlay. It is 1-0 in the favor of Denver. Just to update that. Thank you, chat, for letting me know.
But, I mean, we'll even see this really come into effect. I mean, I think so. Certainly Denver would want to take advantage of the +1 Carapace by attacking or poking at least a little bit. But they are first going for their hatcheries. And until they break down those rocks, these hatcheries are, of course, in danger at all times. Well, the FireCake goes to a Roach Warren again.
This is where I like that sort of the best defense is a good offense mentality, right? Like, you can knock down the rocks and maybe you end up fighting at home a bunch, but the ideal thing is that you want FireCake using all of his units, or Denver using all of his units at home defending while you're attacking. Now, FireCake is going for roaches. This is fine. It's actually going to work out better than if it was Ling Bane versus Ling Bane. But what's to note is Denver's upgrade is not wasted. That +1 Carapace will still help even against the roaches.
Yes, it will. And into roaches should it go on that long. But FireCake's Ling did not see the evolution chamber. It just saw what is pretty standard.
Oh, you're right.
And that could have been a roach worm back there, and he's playing the exact same thing that FireCake is. But we know that's not the case, and he's getting a ton of Lings. Now, that overlord, I believe, saw at least some of the lings going across. Actually, very oddly positioned, but as you said, the Carapace is going to help out against roaches. The banelings are no longer going to be the instant defense against a ling flood that they should be.
I like
and this is still very scary.
I mean, first off, good moves from FireCake to get in the mineral line, but great moves out of Denver to run right around that mineral line and not waste a bunch of time running into it. Now, Carapace is done, so he can take hits. Obviously, you still don't want to, but he can. Baneling's going to come in. This will help a little bit versus the amount of roaches that are clumped up. Oh my god, they should kill one, but that's all the banelings now gone. Some lings are being used here on the right side, some left on the hatchery to go for kills. This is a little bit messy out of FireCake. His units are really getting low.
I don't know about using that many banelings, to be honest. Like, because that, I mean, that, you know, in context, like, those 8 banelings sound expensive, but 8 lings is not so expensive. But that could have been 8 lings running to the main, which is usually, like, the power behind a ling flood, or can be the power behind a ling flood. You just get everywhere as opposed to just taking a fight.
Right, but it's worth noting, while we talked about FireCake scouting, Denver also didn't scout FireCake enough to see those roaches were going to be in play. Like, he probably thought this was going to be Ling Bane versus Ling Bane. He brought a knife to a gunfight and had to use the knife the best way he could by throwing it at his opponent.
That's a good point. So he is, unfortunately, not doing so well because of it. If you catch them early enough, or if they don't recognize it, you know, as you said, like putting in the roach in the mineral lines, you can overwhelm a roach count. But FireCake was I think, well prepared as well as he could be for scouting the or never scouting the roach warren.
Oh, this is clever. I like this. Right now, Denver's doing a lot of distraction tactics. He does a little bit of attacking the main, doesn't get a lot done. Same with the natural, but he did manage to sneak away 3 banelings. They do get found, however, so that's not going to work out too well for him. One will take out the lings. Can the other 2 make it to the mineral line and get those hits, though? FireCake's going to pull. He splits. Not great connects. What is
Denver
this
does need to do more damage. Okay, I don't know about that queen, but Denver needs to do just a little bit more damage because FireCake is still going to be up in those drones. Of course, he has the +1 missile, but Denver still has a +1 carapace, so it's not that bad.
This is where I actually think pulling the lings back would be better. Throwing them away relentlessly is one thing, but if he pairs them up with his own roaches, they'll be the cannon fodder for that fight. He'll have upgrades a little bit in his favor. His +1. Well, actually, I take that back. I guess FireCake did get his own +1 weapons while this went on. But the point of this being, like, FireCake has more roaches. He's got bigger army supply. And if it comes down to an actual fight where he moves out, Denver probably can't actually take that fight.
That's interesting. FireCake cancels his carapace to immediately start roach speed, but he wasn't so far away from being able to afford both with his gas, so...
Yeah. Huh.
Okay, well, he starts at +2 now, and then he's going to take an Evo Chamber, obviously, so he's going to have better upgrades eventually, but, you know, he was only 10 seconds behind on that +1. Now he's much farther behind on both upgrades. We'll see if that's a problem, though. I don't know if Denver is really going to be looking for a big push when he's +1 and roach speed finishes up, but if he is, that could be his timing. If not, then FireCake would eventually obviously win out with his tech and his upgrades.
I mean, I liked Denver's initial tactics and his thought process here of really forcing. Like, I think a lot of this was him trying to force FireCake to play the Ling Bane game with him, but at the time he didn't work out, and now he's trying to make the best of the situation, picking up queens here and there where he can. Roaches are just gonna be a little too hard to fight. As we see, he's actually walking around the roaches, intentionally trying to focus down that queen. Lings are going to die, sadly. Now, resources lost doesn't super put Denver behind, but the army supply is again what I kind of like get all worried about. 22 roaches to 16. I think in a defender's advantage situation now, Denver could take a fight, but it's interesting to see him very intentionally going for baneling speed while this goes on. And not so much because I'm worried about, like, that could have been 4 extra roaches or anything like that, but he's already seen his banelings aren't going to be effective, so I'm wondering what the plan is to use them, you know?
He just wants to go for roach baneling, something that we would not have second-guessed at all in Heart of the Swarm, where it was like, okay, that was awkward.
Oh, picks off 2 Ravagers right away. That's huge.
It was very awkward. I don't know what FireCake was doing. I guess just trying to distract. But that we don't see that often in Legacy of the Void. Usually it does go just to Roach Ravager, or maybe up to Lurkers. Of course, the meter transitions, but Roach Baneling kind of felt like a thing of the past for a very long time. If he can survive to get there, he'll have a very explosive 1.5 fights.
Denver, I'm actually impressed. He's managed to get ahead in supply off of that defensive fight. They both take a 4th base while this goes on. But most importantly, FireCake got to the main with a lot of roaches that should have killed more drones. But they both kind of went on awkward A-move situations where they focused up here in the north, and Denver didn't lose that much for it. So his worker count is certainly behind, but that's where I think the power of this, like, army supply comes into play. Because right now, if FireCake gets to mine for another few minutes, like, he's gonna max out. Denver won't. Denver will not hit 200 at the same time FireCake does. But Denver might be able to take a fight before then and keep FireCake's army supply a little bit more honest.
Oh, FireCake's +2 did finish, so now he has the upgrade lead. And Denver, I feel, he is going to use this as almost an all-in. Like, he's getting a 4th base, so he could transfer drones and keep on the economy game. But as far as upgrades go, that's never going to be in his favor. He gets a little caught off guard here. He doesn't want to attack without his Banelings. And honestly, that's not a lot of Banelings. They're going to roll in from behind, though, and potentially catch the Ravagers.
Oh,
hey, hello.
Such a cool move, but is that going to be enough damage? His army supply is still waiting. He's behind on upgrades now. That choke is not working from the way I think he wanted it to. There's so much about this, though, where I love the ideas that Denver has. They're just not working in this particular situation. But I guarantee you, like in most ZvZs, they probably would. They probably will. This is really cool, but I think FireCake's got a little too much to deal with at this point.
He does. FireCake's won this game. He's been in a good position ever since not losing, basically, to that Ling attack with the +1. And Denver, like, I think he might have a chance if he did max out. If he had that 20+ army supply when they're both maxed out, and he maybe had, like, 20 Banelings as opposed to what was, like, the 10. It was a very underwhelming amount of Banelings. But it's going to be a base trade to try and mix things up, and this is something that, you know, some people are worse at than others, and they can make mistakes. But FireCake is a very large army.
I don't know about the base trade, because in this sort of instance... Oh, actually, I hope he kills that burrow. That could actually shake up a lot of stuff.
Oh, please. Oh, come on.
So he doesn't say on purpose because he wants to come here and just deal with the broodlings, right? But the fact that he lets that burrow complete is actually going to change everything up. Because now his opponent's roaches can heal. He can hide drones more easily. Denver doesn't have money to build things elsewhere. I want to note that really quick. He's got all these drones saved, but no money to do anything with them.
Yeah. I can't believe that burrow finished.
It shouldn't have. But I think even without burrow, FireCake still wins this game. The supplies are still a little too one-sided.
He would have really messed up his, like, split on his units.
Is the main still up? The drones could go mine again. Try to? No, I was just going to pull him with the army. One big fight. Pull the boys. No, or not. Yes, there we go. Flanking from behind, but Overseer in play means that burrow's not going to be a problem just yet. Corrosive Bile's looking to hit everything on the map, but GG gets called, and FireCake is going to tie up the series 1-1. Weird. That's all I can say. But good series so far. Much closer already in 2 games than either of the other 2 PVTs, I must say. But now they're going to take us to a break again. So we're going to go to a break ourselves, and we'll see you guys in a few minutes. So thank you for watching. All right, folks, welcome back. Game number 3 for the TopDogs tournament. Gaming's tournament. We are in the round of 8 presently. The winner of this will go on to the semifinals. I do want to mention, though, because this was asked during the break time, the semifinals do not play today. This is strictly the round of 8. 4 best-of-5s in total. We got 1 more best-of-5 coming up after this. And spawning in the bottom left side of Runes of Endion, we have the red Zerg player, Denver.
In the bottom right, as the blue Zerg player, it's FireCake.
I was watching Overlord Scout on this map because it just looks like the face gets derpy and cross-eyed. Okay, wait, not right now, guys. Wait like 5 seconds here. I'm gonna super zoom out. Just look at the mini map. Like, tell me this doesn't look like.
I don't know. He's a third eye coming in.
It's like that drunk. Yeah. Okay. Or he's just like really shifty looking to the side. All right, so this is a map. It's kind of harder to pull cheese off on. A lot has to do with those rocks. So I'm not at all surprised that we saw these guys play pretty standard. I would say that I will be surprised, though, if in 5 games, potentially, that we don't actually see a single like early pull, early gas. Especially with Sky Shield coming up next, as this will go to a game 4 no matter what.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you do go for an early pull on this map, though, like, you can try and break on the rocks to make it basically not as painful as other maps where, you know, it fails, and what can you do? But Sky Shield, I'm trying to remember what it looks like. I'm just gonna Google it actually, because I can't remember what it looks like. I'm thinking of Rock Shear. Here it is. Yes, because it has the fire on the sides. Fire. Yeah, I don't know about early pulls on that map either. Yeah. It's so odd too, because yesterday, the last room that we cast, the finals ended super quick because there were Of course, a lot of early pools that we usually see in ZvZ. You know what I want to do, though? I want Denver to do his Overlord dropping again.
I think that would be cool to see, but I also am worried that that's a bit of a gimmick that I think FireCake falls for once but not twice type thing.
The problem I could see is just how did he fall for it? You know, like,
well, let's be honest. The initial Lings, they did some good damage, but they didn't do enough damage. It was the Banelings that came in and really changed the game. And I don't think you fall for like a big part of that was like having the really delayed, like thinking back to that first game, right? The really delayed remake on the Queen meant the Overlord got to sit there for a very, very, very long time, making him scared.
Yeah.
Make the Queen sooner. You chase off the Overlord. It's not as big of a problem.
Of course, he's not doing it to see a lair for both parties, but
yeah. I
just wonder, like, because how, like, you scout it. If you can scout it, then you know what's going on, and that's great. But if there's lack of scouting, if they're denying it, then you're still in the dark for quite a while. It seems like if you don't scout it, then you're gonna lose all your queens, and that was the main problem. Is you don't have anything to shoot down those overlords. And it's pretty expensive to remake those queens.
So, anyways, because it's not happening in this game. What I'm thinking, though, is, like, is this going to go to mutas? The map makes sense for it. FireCake's taking his extra gases right now. For him, it's almost certain. But Denver could still go a different direction with this. He's scouting. He sees the extra gases pop. He's got to have an idea this is mutas. Does he feel more comfortable fighting fire with fire and going his own mutas? Or does he feel better going hydras and infestors? Or the third option, a Nidus Worm? Okay.
Yeah. A Ling Queen Nidus Worm to counter this, as it has been so fully scouted.
Was it Hydra who did this and he brought the drones through to make spore crawlers? Or am I thinking of somebody else? Somebody did this recently. I think it was like in an Alima League even. Where they brought like 3 drones through and just made spore crawlers on their opponent's side as well. Like this is...
Yeah.
This might work. FireCake has no vision of this portion of his base. He has not fully scouted Denver to know that Denver's going for this. And Denver may have been hoping that this was a Spire specifically for this build. If this is like some sick counter build he's got in his back pocket, this very well may work. And I can actually see this working. Again, especially if he pulls like 2 drones through, makes spores on this side, he's going to have no threat from those mutas whatsoever. And FireCake doesn't have enough. He doesn't have Banelings yet. He doesn't have Lings. He's only just now making his first 2 Banelings.
It's probably just game, but of course FireCake doesn't want to tap out quite yet. But the fact that he has no scouting, like he saw a lack of a third and figured that his opponent was also going to go for a Spire most likely, was certainly his fault.
He should be able to focus on these Banelings as well. I mean, that's a lot of queens to work with.
Looks like Denver won't be able to break the natural though.
Well, he's got some of his own
spines finishing up.
Still doing spines.
Yeah.
I think he will. Like, even with the spines finishing up, there's just so many Lings, and with the amount of queens here, this is still a problem. Transfuses have got to go and keep them alive, though. Barely gets that transfuse up. He's going to surround. Now that he's fighting in the spines, that's a problem. This should never have been in range of all of those. Like, it should have been either or. Like, you're fighting either the drone line and massacring, or you're fighting the spine crawlers. Either way, though, Denver has done so much damage through this attack. He's killed so many workers. The only workers he lost were the ones he pulled through the Nidus Worm. So 25 workers to 17 is not bad moving forward. FireCake does not have the money to throw down any mutas right now.
It was going to be so interesting to see what would have happened if Denver did not take the fight in the low ground, but just like stayed up, kill the main hatchery, and see if this game continued on. Because at least then FireCake would have still been mining. You would have had at least a few mutas.
Right, like let FireCake mine off of one base. Like what good's that going to do? Now this is a lot of Banelings looking to come through. They're gonna have to deal with the spines, which is unfortunate. So Lings decided to distract one. He's trying to just bully his way through, looking for the drone kills, getting the drone kills, Zombie Grub.
Yeah, but FireCake, I don't think he's gonna tap out soon because mutas they have the big potential here.
It's like
two mutas have a big potential here. But seriously, like if you have any mutas at all, like you're gonna always be a little more hesitant to tap out of the game. Because they can just be obnoxious, but that was a good build from Denver.
That was an excellent choice too. Well played, as he does take a lead now in the series 2-1. Now, of course, this is still not over, and FireCake's got a whole nother game to bounce back from. But Sky Shield's a different map that I think a lot of these players don't have practice on. It's a GSL map. It's not available on the ladder. It's not easily accessible. So I gotta say, I don't think FireCake's gonna have an easy time bringing this back. At the same time, though, the argument's to be made that like maybe Denver's the one who flops on a new map. I don't know, but this is cool to me to see the underdog doing so well, like without a doubt.
Look at that fire behind the screen, and it's like falling, it's burning.
Yeah. So like
Oh, there you go.
again, here on the edges, like I've never been able to see this as anything other than falling into the planet, but I guess the still background doesn't help with that. Anyways, welcome back to O Gaming's Top Dogs. It's the round of 8 as we get here into map number 4. And believe it or not, it's this guy in the bottom right who's currently up 2-1. And this map, if he wins it, he locks it down, moves on to the semifinals. It's going to be the Red Zerg Denver.
And top left as the blue Zerg, it is FireCake.
Okay, so FireCake, man, for just so many reasons. You said no 3-0, and I kind of agree with you, but if anything, like, FireCake's the one I thought would have been winning this. He'd come in, he'd be like 3-1, easy peasy. Denver's already turned this around completely and entirely. And for that reason alone, again, even if he loses this series, Game 1 and Game 3 won my respect. Game 1 won my heart.
Yes, it did. Interesting stuff coming out of Denver, obviously. Now he's known all of you all. I wonder what else we'll see him in. Unfortunately, there's a reason we don't know much about him. Maybe like the French casters, or have a whole history of, and he does this all the time. And fortunately, we just wouldn't know, as he's just playing a lot of French tournaments. Because unless we just don't notice his name on the brackets, I know we're seeing him in WCS. Obviously, he doesn't play in the Corsair Cups or the Corsair Gaming Cups or anything like that. So, I mean, I'd hope that he would. Maybe everyone should ask him to, since he's obviously now a fan favorite for our chat.
Yeah, I mean, there's like the bad guy element for FireCake, there's the literal underdog element here for Denver. I mean, there's so many fun things that make this a little bit more than just a standard boring ZvZ, right? But FireCake's going to be getting a little bit ling heavy here to start.
Little. Only be matched roughly by Denver. So we'll see if it really commits. He's got a few more lings on the way. Denver goes for a Bailey Nest as expected. You can see Sky Shield as a map has some pretty interesting architecture. There's actually, if it's a Terran, they can abuse tanks up here.
Yep.
Third bases, there's kind of two options that are both pretty equal in regards to like how safe it is. There's a car right there. Look at that, look at its little butt.
We got a new sub too, by the way. He's got to give some super big shout outs because it's the first new sub of the day to Vesuvius. I feel that name's familiar. He's either in chat a lot or he's a resub reclaiming, but either way, thank you for subscribing. Now, Denver's actually not too well suited to deal with this just yet. With these extra links coming in and a queen, he should be. The two that did sneak across the map, though, don't really have the opportunity to do too much, unfortunately.
Well, if they wait and turn to Banelings, which they are doing, I mean, I think Denver would have noticed, like, hey, there's an overlord over this base, so he's not going to see what is either going to be Banelings from behind if FireCake's lings get too far forward, or Banelings, obviously, to complement a push and try and sneak in to the drone line. Waddle.
I feel like getting these on the Zerglings is the best thing to do in this. It's not about hitting those drones. It's not about hitting the queens. It's definitely about taking out those lings so his own lings have more free reign. But with Banelings of FireCake finally coming into play, that's not going to happen. Kind of bit of consolation to take out Larva, but it will cut into FireCake's production. So not a great hit, but not the worst thing he could have done. Worst thing would have just been dying for nothing.
Yeah. Denver is continuing to attack, by the way. A lot more lings on the way, and FireCake's got to keep note of that with his overlords. That side of the map, because FireCake, he's still droning. He's not like so far ahead in drones, but is getting there, and he's getting a lair, which is a lot more important. And that way, Denver's falling behind potentially quite a bit. Denver actually goes to the third base over a lair.
Well, so this is where it gets questionable, right? Like Sky Shield, we don't actually know if mutas are amazing here or not. And if it's going to come down to a macro game and it ends up being like Roach versus Roach, then Denver is making moves right now that make him a little bit better off for it. Ooh, almost. I didn't realize the Baneling had been put out over here. Those things are right into it. This one really bad.
I could definitely see reasons to why mutas would be good on this map, actually.
It's really tight bases. So, like, on one hand, you could argue, like, okay, mobility is never to be questioned. Mutas are the most mobile things in the game. But with such tight bases, it's not hard for a queen to get from the main to the natural, for example. You don't have to spread a ton of creep, even like the hatcheries do it. You take a map like Dust Towers, you got to put down like 3 creep tumors just to move queens around.
Well, yeah, I agree on that point. And it's like small bases as well, and like that natural, there's not too much to cover. The third base is still an opportunity for Lings and Mutas to try and cover and kill. And I was going to point out that there's a lot of dead space around the bases. So there's a lot of opportunities to escape if you are being chased by Hydras, for instance, actually duck in and duck out, and then go from natural to third. And that's where I think the Queens could have a lot of trouble. Or Hydras off of creep or, what have you. And it is going to be a Spire for FireCake, at least initially. We'll see if he sticks on it or transfers over to Lurkers, Ultras, whatever. Whatever you want, basically, after a Spire.
This is an interesting spot for a Spine Crawler, by the way, but I guess we'll hit everything coming from any ramp.
Denver's just going to go attack, though, so we made a big point about the Spire, but hey, if it's not even allowed to get any mutas, then that's not a problem for Denver.
Yeah, I like the Banelings are kind of a cool aspect of this. We haven't talked about them recently. Horror was someone who did this a lot. Actually, Denver just got a pretty good Baneling hit right there, by the way. But Horror is one of these guys who would do this all in to take out the Spine Crawlers with the Banelings specifically. So the Roaches would just have free reign to mosey on it. Now, he kind of messes this up a little bit and really misses those hits. But he's still got the capability to tear down these spines. The other 3 or 4 were just placed down. I mean, that's a lot of money FireCake's already been forced to put in defense, but he's got enough money behind us that he can make those mutas. I'm surprised he's not.
There he goes. 5 units on the way now. It was a little questionable by Denver to use the Banelings to try and get the drones. Now they're pretty weak, however, and the Lings can start last hitting them. The Spine Crawlers aren't going to finish anyway. And even with the questionable Baneling use, it looks like Denver is going to do some appropriate amount of damage, but this is getting to real question mark territory.
I mean, there's so
how much damage can he do before the mutas clean it up?
Well, with the Baneling getting that hit, all these drones are one shot from dead. I'm thinking he might be able to get the drone kills he needs to. Because let's not forget, FireCake had a lot of drones coming into this.
Definitely, actually. Yeah, another 10 just went down within an instant, so very quickly it went from 25 doable to now just 15, and I think this is going to snowball just a little too much. His Roaches are still alive.
Oh my god, down to 9 workers. I mean, at this point, the 3 Queens being produced at a time are going to outproduce the amount of mutas that can be made. This is game. This is the series. GG, Denver will advance on to the semifinals. Congratulations. This is so impressive to me, and this, credit goes to O Gaming. This is the stuff I like to see. We get to see it a lot more rarely in the way we do open cups and such, but to see a specifically underdog player take on somebody like FireCake, who has a history of being a boss in ZvZ, is... I got nothing negative to say about FireCake. I just have all the positive things to say about Denver. This was so cool. I made a tweet just now too, by the way. So it's not often Zerg wins my heart in a ZvZ, but Denver did. Absolutely. But okay, that's gonna put us on another awkwardly long break. The last series coming up is going to be Marine Lord versus DNS. Now, I had addressed earlier that Marine Lord had made an unfortunate choice with his WCS stuff that resulted in a punishment. I kind of forgot DNS was also implicated in that same instance. So for them, that sucks, absolutely, but this is also one of the few tournaments they can play in, and it's kind of important that they do well, because this is also one of the few things they can get money from. Since, what is it? It's they can't play in any WCS related events till June or something like that. June 30th, I think, was the date, so. Ooh. Well, I do know Marine Lord had also mentioned he wanted to take a break and, wasn't feeling the passion for the game after that ban. That may have just been some, post frustration to the, punishment. I don't know. We'll see how well he plans to play. Before we go to the break, the maps for this are going to be Coral Carnage Knockout, Frozen Temple, Invader, Dust Towers, and Rack Shear. So this will be a PVT to finish off the day, a best of 5. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll be back in 10 minutes.